Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This video today has been very highly requested and I'm very happy to oblige. I have been asked to share my hardest working foundations and I feel like there's a mix here of like things that I've loved throughout 2023, that goes without saying, but also things that I know I love using on other people as well as my own face. So without getting too long-winded in the intro, let's get straight into it. Okay, so first, foundation, and in no particular order. Again, I have a real mix of lightweight bases, medium bases to nearer full coverage, but I wouldn't say anything that I tend to use is fully full coverage. So I guess we'll start with the lightest ones first. And again, a lot of these aren't going to be a surprise to you if you've been following me on YouTube for a long time or on my Instagram at harrymakesitup. So first of all, this was something I did discover in 2023 and I was definitely late to the bandwagon. It is the Chanel Le Beige, the water tint. Now, this is one of those bases that I discovered in summer, and it purely is for the reason that it feels so light and refreshing on the skin, especially in the summer heat. This just felt like such a treat on my skin. And again, it's kind of like makeup you can't mess up. That's what I would say this is. If you're someone who wants to find a base that feels very easy to use and you want makeup that doesn't look like you're wearing much makeup, but just evens out the skin tone, this is the one. Now, I think a lot of people saw this and I had the same fear that, is it going to be like an Emperor's New Clothes? Is it going to be like you put it on and there's nothing there? But it definitely gives you enough of, again, it's not really coverage, but it just gives a little bit of a pick-me-up to your skin. So I definitely feel like when I put this on, I can see something. It does last really well. But again, it looks like my skin on a really good day, both hydrated and refreshed. And it feels really, really nice. So I had two of the travel ones before I brought the full size, and I wear the shade medium currently. Okay, so the next one you will have seen in my hardest working makeup items of 2023. It is the Giorgio Armani Neo Nude. I wear the shade 5. I also have the shade 4 of this as well. This for me has slightly more coverage than the Chanel. And I feel like this still gives very much that glowy, ethereal looking skin. It looks very fresh on the skin. And again, I think it has really great durability on the skin. So it definitely lasts on me. But again, I feel like this is also in the same vein of makeup you can't mess up. You can apply this with fingers, you can apply it with a brush. Both work beautifully. And same with the Chanel as well. You can definitely use your hands or a brush. It's just one of those products. I mean, it describes itself as true to skin natural glow foundation. That's exactly how I would describe it. I think Squeezy Tube always gets 2 thumbs up from me. Just a beautiful, beautiful foundation. I use it on a lot of different skin types as well. Again, I don't know if this does have SPF in actually. I've used it a lot for editorials and I love it for like editorial looking skin. I've never used it for red carpet, but a lovely day-to-day foundation. Okay, next up, and I'm going to put these in the same category because they feel very, very similar. So first up is the Dior Backstage Face and Body Foundation. I've been wearing the shade 2N. Love, love, love this. And, controversial, also the MAC Studio Face and Body Foundation in the shade N3. So these are the 2 shades I wear. And if I had to say the difference, I would say the Dior one is ever so slightly more matte, ever so slightly. There's really not a lot in it. They're both very fluid formulas, so when they kind of have a more pouring consistency versus like a foundation that you could put on the back of your hand and it's not going to go everywhere. So they're definitely more of a runny consistency. Again, I find these are a great one for mixing. If you do want to shear it down, you definitely can do. I love applying these two with a brush. MAC Face and Body is very famous for its setting capabilities. So a reason a lot of makeup artists like this is because once it sets down, it has a kind of layer that acts like kind of tightens on the skin. So it looks really, really great in terms of photography because there's no SPF. And it isn't really a foundation that transfers once it has set down. So love both of those. I kind of putting them in the same category because I use them interchangeably, but I definitely love both. Okay, so we're getting into slightly more coverage territory now. The next one, I'm realizing there's a lot of Chanel in here. I feel like 2023 was the year I really fell back in love with Chanel foundations. And this one, this is an OG, okay? This one I have been obsessed with, especially the latter half of 2023. It is Chanel Vitalumiere Aqua. Now I wear the shade 20 Beige. This foundation, I actually think it's way more matte than people think it is. On me anyway, it's definitely more of a natural looking finish on the skin, like not too dewy, not too matte, but there's almost like a satin feeling. And I love this with a face oil underneath. So my favorite way to wear this foundation is with a face oil. I love the Lech Beauty one. I will link that down in the description box. And that is like my go-to combo. But again, I just feel like it's one of those foundations that I hope it's around for years and years and years, because it's still as good as when I first started out as a makeup artist. And while this does have SPF 15 in, this is definitely one of those foundations that I love for photography, like for more, again, like editorial, magazine work, not so much flash photography as in red carpet. But it has quite a low SPF, so I have clients that did used to like ask for it on the red carpet, and I was like, okay, it has a bit of SPF in, so as long as you know, and it's never photographed badly. But that being said, I definitely find this more a foundation that I use for things like press junkets, the kind of things where there is some photography where you can control the photography, as opposed to flash photography like paparazzi, red carpet. So the next two foundations I think are quite similar in terms of how I use them. The first one is the Trini London. Now you can see I have used a lot of this. This is the shade Trintron. I go between Trintron and Zandy. Zandy is my kind of like winter color. And I think the Trini London Just a Touch foundation is such a good formula. I think having something in a pot that you can use as like concealer and foundation that's very buildable is a great kind of makeup bag staple. So especially if you are looking for like one product that does everything, this one and the next product I'm going to show you are definitely a great handbag essential. So the next one I've actually depotted, and it's inside here. It's the Monica Blunder Blunder cover, and I wear the shade 3. Again, it's just another really beautiful, creamy, I would definitely put both of these into the kind of creamy, dewy category. But what's so great about them is they're very buildable. So you get a lot of flexibility in terms of how you want to use the product. Obviously, if you want to add more coverage, you can. If you want to shear it down, you can. And they also work beautifully with other kind of mixing mediums, whether that's a moisturizer, a face oil, to really manipulate the finish you get with the product. So staying in with the more medium coverage foundations, the next one I'm going to go to is another Chanel one. Again, I think I discovered this last year, so I've loved this for like the past year and a half. It is the Chanel Le Beige Water Fresh Complexion Touch. Now, comparing this to this one is very, very lightweight. I would definitely describe it more as like a tinted moisturizer, just a very soft tint. This one, however, for me performs much more like a regular foundation. Same concept in that it has these kind of little bubbles that burst with the pigments inside. But again, this for me had a very lovely, fresh looking, perfected skin. And I did use these two together as well. So I would kind of play with the two together, which I think is how they were designed. However, I wore this a lot on its own too. So I wore the shade B30 in this. This was definitely my kind of go-to, I would say summer generally. I wore this when I wanted like a low kind of, a very lightweight base. And this one was actually what I wore when I wanted more coverage. So those two were definitely like real favorites through the summer and go-to products, which I also think are beautiful in my makeup kit too. Next one, we have Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation. So my good friend Adam Burrell, who is an incredible makeup artist, he got me onto this. He was like, Harry, this is going to be right up your street. And it really was, but I will say you can get some good coverage out of this. So if I compare this to say the Giorgio Armani, you're not going to get like a full coverage, not even like a medium coverage, I would say it's just below what I would describe as a medium coverage in terms of what you can build it up to. Versus this, I would say this reminds me of, it almost reminds me of like It Cosmetics CC cream, but with a little bit more glow. And again, I feel like you'll need a brush to kind of really buff this in, because otherwise you'll find you'll get a lot of pigment in one place. But it wears beautifully. Your skin looks phenomenal. If you like a bit of a glow, you're probably gonna like this. And it's just, it feels really nice on the skin. You forget it's there. It feels like you get the coverage without feeling like there's makeup on your skin. Okay, honorable mention to another product that you probably won't have seen as much in the jar because I have this depotted also and I have it in the trial sizes. It is the Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing Foundation from Shiseido. I have a couple of shades of this. I currently wear, I think I have 210 on my countertop and 225 and 240. This is the shade 240. As the name explains, Synchro Skin, it's very seamless in terms of looking like real skin. Again, I would describe this as a more natural finish, so you can kind of manipulate it if you want it more glowy or you want it more matte. And the self-refreshing aspect of the name in this, it is very interesting because it is one of those foundations that does look good all day long. Like again, you're not gonna have to touch this up a lot or do much to it, but it does just wear beautifully. And if I have to say like a new concealer find in 2023 that I became obsessed with, it is also their concealer. I'm wearing the concealer version now. Sometimes I do just wear concealers in place of foundation, just kind of on a very dewy primer or my moisturizer, and I'll just blend it in that way. But if you are looking for a very good, again, middle ground foundation where you want something that just looks like good skin, that's not too dewy, not too matte, I would definitely say try this. Okay, now I have two left and I'm kind of torn whether or not to show the next one because I saw it's on sale on Sephora, which makes me have a horrible feeling they might be discontinuing it. I could be wrong, hopefully I'm wrong. But it is the Tom Ford foundation stick. I think if you watch back through any of my favorites videos, especially anything to do with bases, anything to do with favorite foundations, this will be in there. And again, this was one I've loved in my kit for years. I feel like, first of all, there's no SPF, so again, it photographs in any condition beautifully. It is a glowy foundation. It is a glowy stick foundation. And for me, I've tried so many stick foundations, nothing, and I mean nothing, has ever come close to being as good as this, in my opinion, when it comes to a stick foundation. If they are discontinuing it, I don't know why. It's so beautiful. It is the Traceless Foundation Stick. I wear the shade 40 Fawn, and it's one of those ones, again, just, God, your skin looks so good. It gives that kind of plumped, elasticated, kind of bouncy look is the best way I could describe it. And anyone I put it on, they're always like, that's a stick, that looks amazing. Again, you can blend it with your fingers, you can blend it with a brush. I find that does work best with a more like kind of synthetic brush, really to get the product moving around the skin, but it lasts beautifully and it gives a really nice, dewy, expensive glow. Last one in the list. I'm looking at everything on my table. I'm like, yes, I think this is the last one. And this is actually the base I am wearing today. Now this one, I used this so much at the beginning of the year and I got it out my stash earlier and I was like, I put it on today and I was like, this foundation is so good. Why have I not been reaching for it more? And I think it's just because I had other things on rotation, but putting it on today, I am reminded how phenomenal a foundation this is. And again, when it comes to shade range, I think they do such a good job. It is the NARS Reflecting Foundation. And again, this one was a newer launch, I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I wear the shade L4 Deauville. It's so good. Again, has the pump, comes with it. And I feel like when I think about this kind of foundation, I'm gonna put it in the same category as Armani Luminous Silk, which I haven't put in here today because I feel like I've mentioned it in so many other videos, and funny enough, it just wasn't the foundation I reached for this year as much. So while I love it for red carpet and it will always be like an OG favorite, it wasn't one of the ones that I used the most this year. And if I had to say something comparable to that I've used instead, I would probably say it is the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. Again, obviously I've added glow to my base today and I will list all the makeup I'm wearing in the description box below. But it's such a good foundation. Again, it just looks beautiful on the skin, it's long lasting, and I really think it's a hard foundation to beat when it comes to being a really good one that a lot of people enjoy. You get that light reflection, but without it looking like too dewy, especially when you think about kind of like anything that's going to be photographed. So that's it. That is my roundup of my hardest working bases in my collection. Let me know if you'd like me to do anything else. I'm really enjoying doing these little series for you. And I hope you have very happy holidays, whatever you're doing, wherever you are. Please stay safe. And I'm sending lots of love to everyone. And yeah, let me know what else you would like to see. Would love it if you subscribe. And I'll see you soon for more.